I would make prototype guitar cases off of wooden molds, and I would take them into Fender like every other week. And at first, I sat in the lobby and I never got to see anybody. And my next trip, I got to see them, and they all pointed at it and laughed. And it wasn't until about maybe 6 months of this where they said, okay, well, we're sick of you coming in here. You're very tenacious. We're going to go tour your plant. So they came out to visit us, and we had one employee making windscreens, and they said, hey, you guys are too small.
Yeah.
This isn't going to work. So we said goodbye, and we quit visiting them. And about 6 months later, I got a call from Fender, and they said they wanted me to go down there. And I said, well, you've seen everything.
No, you said something a little bit more emphatic than that.
Yeah.
You hung up the phone and said, I don't ever want to talk to you people again.
Yeah.
And so then they called back, and I can remember picking up the phone and Dave saying, I've had it with those guys. And they go, well, we got a new project. We think it's something you guys can handle.
It's very small. Even you guys could do this.
It's our 25th anniversary Stratocaster. And come on in, we'll talk about it. So we went in, and they said, you know, we know your company's small, but we have a lot of faith in you. If you can somehow come up with a $50,000 line of credit, then we'll go ahead and we'll issue this purchase order, because we think that's the only thing you don't have is any money. And so that was, okay, great.
So our parents co-signed their homes over to the bank.
Yeah, and that was the toughest sell of all. You know, we had
so that we could make guitar cases.
Yeah. Dave's dad's comment was,
that was after we dropped out of college.
Yeah, we dropped out of college.
It was something to the effect of, for how long do you actually believe the world is going to absorb 2,000 guitar cases a month, for Christ's sake?
Yeah.
He wasn't very happy about me dropping out of college as a senior.
Yeah, and I think now our current production, we probably make 38,000 cases a month.
I think more.
Yeah, the world can
That's
absorb
Mexico.
a lot of cases. Yeah, it's a big world and a lot of industries that we build for. So they had faith in us, but at the same time they were thinking, oh my God, are we going to lose our houses? So
Fender put us on the map. All of a sudden we had employees, we were making stuff. And an interesting thing happened is their wooden case supplier, at the same time that this happened, went broke. And so they came to us and they said, okay, you guys are going to have to make all this stuff. And that was a huge break for us. And we came through. And life was good until Fender kind of demised a little bit in the early 80s, as all of us who've been in the industry long enough will remember.
Yeah, Fender was no longer looking to manufacture product anymore. At that particular junction, they were looking at just bringing everything in from Japan.
So one of the really critical things that happened to us is that we went looking for business outside of the music business. And where we wound up was making, among other things, containers for military weapons, medical stuff, real serious stuff that required exquisite quality control and manufacturing standards. And because of that, as Fender was saved by Bill Schultz and the guys, as we got back into the music business, we found ourselves on an entirely different level than anybody that was in the case business in the music business.
Right, by going and building all these products for the military industry, now we had a much higher quality, more rugged product than just the simple guitar case. So we started looking around at other products back in the music business, namely rack cases.
Okay, this guy here is assembling one of our shock rack frames. It's got this hollow section in between here, so it actually clamps on the steel part of the frame. And then they drive this machine-driven rivet in there, which is also backed up by a steel washer. And what you get is these steel frames that wind up being encapsulated in this aluminum channel held together by these steel rivets, so you get this death grip in between here. It's just an incredibly strong system. Saul here is he's assembling what we call the strike, which is the little hook that the latch latches onto. There's little fasteners that we mold into the part when we rotomold it that creates this metal hole here, and then they just pop rivet it into the hole. Okay, this is a really good example of a product that we rotomold with a multi-piece tool. This is actually a shock rack that's going to, they're going to put communications equipment into, and they're going to ship these to Afghanistan. What the military really loves about these is what they call rapid deployment. They just unlatch a couple latches on the side. We have this compound hinge here, which allows the door to swing out and over and rest along the side. The mold that we make these with is actually a 6-piece tool to make this really complicated part. But when we're all done, this is actually just one piece of plastic. There's no seams. It's completely airtight. You can see there's a sealing gasket here. The handles here are a little spring-loaded handle. The hard plastic part we mold out of used to be scrap from a fender case. We grind it up, we injection mold it into this handle, and then overmold the rubber onto it. If you look at your typical music industry shock rack, it's usually made out of wood. It's got aluminum in the corners, and it's got foam going around the rack itself. We have these rubber snubbers here that give the rack its shock protection. The military wouldn't ever buy a shock rack with foam going around it because something like this might wind up in the desert of Iraq, and they want the cooling properties of having this open here rather than the insulating property of putting equipment in here that has a propensity to get hot anyway and then sealing that heat in with foam.